leaves are still green in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, but don't let that fool you. Very much an autumn feel at Goodman Stadium on the campus of Lehigh University today. Bethlehem, sitting 6th in the Eastern Conference, takes on a future founding member of USL Division III, a team with a record that doesn't quite show how good they can be, Toronto FC 2. Joined by Devin Kerr, Mike Watts alongside. Today is Steel Goes Gold Day, a partnership with the Pediatric Cancer Foundation of the Lehigh Valley, and this game means a lot in a lot of ways. Bethlehem Steel sits 6th right now. They're just 3 points over 10th place Nashville and just 1 point over New York Red Bulls 2. But with those 12 wins, they would hold the first tiebreaker, so they're still in fairly decent shape no matter what they get today. But Devin, truth be told, this is a Bethlehem Steel side that expects to take advantage playing a team that isn't even high enough in the standings to be on this graphic.
They should 100% be able to go out and get a result, and they need 3 points, make no mistake about it. Even though you see right now a couple teams sitting below them, they've got one game in hand. So the good thing is they've already made their mark. Other teams have to go out and get it done. The problem is defensively, it's been poor. Poor is being kind for Bethlehem Steel. They were so composed in the middle of the year, so much so that Brendan Burke went out, retooled his boys, they got the composition back that they wanted, and they were able to get some fantastic results versus the likes of Louisville, Cincinnati on the road, one man down, by the way, where they fought back to a 2-2 draw. New York Red Bull 2, Popovich and Ottawa, and even Pittsburgh. Their loss a couple weeks ago, 2-1 at home. Though they struggled, they did a good job on both sides of the ball. They were able to get their way back. But versus Pittsburgh recently, everybody had their way. Greenspan early on. Nico Brett got involved. This goal by Jordan Dover in the 79th minute was absolutely fantastic. They continued on between the other matches. We saw the one right, Davis in the 84th minute, late goal, and they were able to get a victory. But again, the composition there just wasn't very good. Loads of mistakes. Bizo drifts over here. That's a no-no. You've got Lucky Kosana streaking on the back post. Easy pickings, tucks this one away. Penn FC never in doubt in the last matchup. Just at the end of it, Paulo Jr. gets through, and you can see holding your hand up, not holding the correct line. Everything was incorrect by Bethlehem Steel defensively. Brendan Burke said the boys are going to get back to the task at hand and get a positive result. He's definitely issued a challenge to what's going to be a very young team today. 3 points up for a playoff spot. Brendan Burke says this may well be a must-win for their playoff hopes. For TFC 2, 5 games before stepping into USL Division 3. Can they spring the upset? It comes your way next.
What our family would do without TiVo. It doesn't matter if a show is live, on demand, or even streaming from Netflix. No more juggling remotes, switching inputs, or guessing who has the show or movie we want to watch, because it's all on one box. TiVo has great apps like Plex, which lets us stream home videos and music from our computers and phones. And with kid-friendly apps like Toon Goggles, I feel safe giving the kids a little TV freedom. And I can enjoy mine too.
It can happen over time or in a snap. If joint or muscle pain has taken you out of the game, we can identify the root cause of your problem and develop a sport-specific treatment plan to get you moving again. Over 400 medical experts strong, the region's only nationally ranked program. That's Orthopedics in Action at Lehigh Valley Health Network.
First game of this Saturday afternoon in USL. It's a packed schedule. Bethlehem Steel taking the field, taking on Toronto FC 2. Joined by Devin Kerr, Mike Watts with you. Let's meet tonight's starting lineups. As the starting 11 for Toronto FC2, not quite as young as Bethlehem, still young nonetheless.
Backline quite similar for Toronto FC2. Patterson Sewell will step in between the pipes. He's been the one back there to get the job done recently. They've had some pretty positive results when you take a look back, but the guy who's been getting it done all over the pitch has been Tsubasa Endo. 7 goals and an assist in his past 5 games. Absolutely fantastic for him. Keep an eye on number 54, Ryan Telfer, over on load from Toronto. Bethlehem Steel FC, you are going to see an extremely young squad. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Jake Maguire gets the nod. Chaluya, Aubrey, be doing a job alongside Benjamin Ofimu. Matt Mahoney on the right side, stepping out from the center back position. Youngster, 17-year-old Brendan Aronson is going to pull the strings at the number 10. Santi Moar on the left, Galena on the right. James Chambers loses his counterpart, Drew Skundrich, in the holding midfielder role. Fontana will step in with Ferris up top.
The starting lineup for Bethlehem Steel FC was brought to you by Lehigh Valley Health Network. What a wonderful backdrop for what is a amazingly young team, Devin. First time in team history that 5 different players under the age of 20 in the lineup. And if it weren't for James Chambers at 31, that average age would be skewed even further.
Fun fact of the day, 5 of those guys are actually 19 years and younger. Ofimu, Anthony Fontana, Brendan Aronson, who we already mentioned, Michi Galena, and Ferris up top. All of which, not only do they have bright futures ahead of them, they've done some serious workload over the course of this season.
Youngest team to ever take the field for Bethlehem Steel, taking on Toronto FC2 with big playoff implications in the first game of a busy Saturday in USL. Ball hit across by Kubel. Kubel to throw here out of the University of Louisville. Spent time overseas in Germany with Schalke and Borussia Dortmund. Chaluya. Through ball weaved in. Ferris is there. Ferris early. Absolutely. Bethlehem. If there were any questions as to how they'd approach this last stretch of the year, they've come out on fire. 1-0 to the home side.
Ferris up top, isolated, is the guy that has an unbelievably high ceiling, the organization is telling us. But he's raw, very green. Have to work on his defensive duties, but offensively he has been fantastic. And what a great job here. Uses that big frame to hold off the trailing run by Boscovich in the back line. Just pushes him to his side, able to slide it past Patterson Sewell to get his 2nd goal on the year.
Wow, that happened fast. 1-0 Bethlehem, 2nd minute for Ferris.
Number 35, Ferris. Goal for in the 2nd minute of play.
You know, Dev, sometimes the teams will say the first name and let the crowd say the last name. That is not an option with Ferris.
just Ferris. He wants to go by the 1. He's going to build that reputation for himself, and why not when you're scoring goals like that?
Hello. Liam Frazier. High pedigree to him. Kubel. Runs it off of Santi Moar. Okello will send it winding wide of Jake Maguire. So for Bethlehem, we said it at the outset, Brendan Burke issued a challenge, and you and I spoke with him this week. Part of the conversation is, how do you handle such a young team when they do make mistakes? Are you nurturing them? He sort of tossed that aside and said, we're building professionals here.
Yeah, it's a fine line you have to walk at this level, because you do have so much talent that needs to be nurtured and gain experience. But at the same point in time, you follow Brendan Burke's statements and he says, yeah, you're right, but they're all professionals, and we're not trying to take care of babies at this age group. Even though they're youngsters, they know that they have a job and they have to go out and do it. And though this is the beautiful game, they have an opportunity here to make a profession for themselves. So we're not going to baby them. We're going to push them to the limit each and every day.
Pointed to Matt Real and Austin Trusty as guys who have found that mentality. Kubel slicing this back. And Toronto continues to leak goals from every which direction. They're 4 winless right now. That's the 67th goal they've allowed this year, second worst in all of the United Soccer League. And when you listen to Brendan Burke talk about it, obviously a coaching change to Toronto changed some things, but perhaps most of all mentality. Michael Rabaska has come in and thrown, by Brendan Burke's assertion, caution to the wind. Wide open games for Toronto. Moar, Aronson. Aronson sizing this up. Aiming for the back post. And Galena. Chambers. Galena heads this forward, creative stuff. Cutting it back at the byline, it ran out, and Aronson was waiting unmarked, just 5-10 yards away.
Parsons, well, not happy with his back line, asking them to remain intact, pushing things in and pinch this offense of Bethlehem Steel. Good run on the right side. Thought Brendan Aronson should have pulled the trigger just a moment ago at the top of the box. He had to look to the far post, elected to cross it over instead, but good ball movement by the boys in blue. And he really was quite complimentary, Brendan Burke, of Rabaska, saying that, you know, this squad, and you alluded to it earlier, that they really aren't given enough credit for how good they are. They're another team that carries a boatload of talent as well. And they're giant killers. They've gone out, they've got some solid results this year. Most recently, they took down Louisville at Slugger Field, and it wasn't a highly contested match. It was a 4-1 drubbing by Hackworth and his boys. And they've also taken down Nashville. Got a win versus Richmond. Those are the 3, but got some solid ties too. John Wolinack and his squad, New York Red Bull 2, taking them to the brink twice. FC Cincinnati, NCFC. So they're proving they can get it done. For them, it's a consistency thing. Just finding form on a regular basis. That hasn't been the case.
Aronson's pass intercepted. And Liam Frazier on the turn. Probably the 2 biggest names on this Toronto FC2 side. Frazier and Ryan Telfer, as you alluded to earlier in the telecast. Akinola will move over, the 18-year-old out of Detroit. That's cut out by Brandon Aubrey, former Toronto player, former draft pick in TFC2 center back. Kubel lining this over the top. They'll loop all the way to Jake McGuire. This is 20th start of the season. So allowed 26 goals in that time. Solid defensive record for the 23-year-old native of California. Fontana pops to his feet.
Some nice posturing by Anthony Fontana in the middle.
Ball slipped through. Good cutback, Aronson. Aronson head on a swivel. Endo. What an incredible scoring run he's been on. He was out of contract the first half of the year. Telfer overhit for Akinola.
The Japanese talent who has really come into the focal point of this offense over the past few games. We said 7 goals and an assist over the last 5. Gives you an idea when he's only got 8 goals and an assist on the year. So really streaking very nicely. When you have a player like that, you want to continue to feed that ego. Try and push him in a positive direction as often as you can. You'll see him wonder a tad, but that's not the worst thing. He drifts out from the left side, go back into the middle. He really can play in that 7, 10, 11 type role. As long as he's able to counteract it with runs along the likes of Matt Serbel in the middle, Ryan Telfair, and they're constantly overlapping each other. That's fine. That's what's worked in the past, and they're going to look to it again.
Frazier going upfield. Okello dispossessed. And a firm step. Fontana from Chambers. Fontana looping over Galena. Slip through Aronson. Over the crossbar. Really wonderful start for Bethlehem. This will be a corner.
This late press by Toronto, too, keeps it out of the back of the net. Some good pressure. How about the ball movement, though? Great ball into Aronson. Last-minute slide coming over. They're looking, they're hunting. Get that early goal, go out and get a second one if possible. They'd love to be able to do that.
Aronson will go short. Chambers. Chambers headed across Aubrey. Fontana. Aubrey. Endo. Brought down Fontana. A hopper that'll run in to Patterson Sewell. So Toronto goes to work here. We mentioned just how good Endo's been. He's a player that was out of contract at the start of the season because Toronto didn't have enough international slots to keep him around. He trialed in Belgium, went to return in August, and you mentioned just 8 goals this year. He's done that in about a month and a half's time. Endo was a former 9th overall pick, Toronto FC, and it was a couple of years ago that he was playing significant minutes in MLS. Still very young. Ball for Galena is put out.
Came up through the JFA Academy, that's the Japanese Football Association, and they really gave him credit for being maybe the next big thing. Regular reps at the U15s, 16s, 17s, and it's just kind of faded away. Hasn't gone to waste. You can see him coming back into form, but look, the amount of talent he possesses, sky's the limit. Just sometimes there's that gray area that he's been floating in and out of.
Well, and that JFA Academy was at Fukushima, where they had that nuclear disaster. He was there in the midst of all that. Chambers. You see that a lot in their women's footballing, which, of course, Japan has one of the top 5-10 teams on the planet year in and year out for decades now. So this field's proved a bit slick again. Players that had to leave that JFA Academy amidst that turmoil back in 2011. Aubrey Moar tackled by Noble Okello. Okello reportedly trained with the Wolfsburg over the offseason, was getting some offers. Is Toronto falling asleep here? Space on the right-hand channel exploited. Ball for Ferris by Galena and picked up. Slip through, out in front, total whiff from Ferris. Galena could have had a look at that too. Mohammed getting in there, and Anthony Fontana with a dynamic run, drawing everybody out, slipping it through, and Ferris almost had a second.
Bethlehem Steel have looked very dangerous in the opening 12 minutes. Love the ball outside. How about Santi Mara? Very unselfish. Could have easily had a crack on goal. Slides it right across the 6 with a trailing run by Ferris. Couldn't finish it off, but it's nice to see him going back to the big guy up top. Start to build that confidence one more. Got the early one and just continue to push.
Continues for Bethlehem. Ball for Ferris from Galena. Bounces to Fontana. Aronson deflected it. I've watched a lot of Bethlehem Steel this year. I don't know that I've seen them play with this much control of the ball. Opposition, what it is, still remarkably impressive.
What'll be more interesting to see is how do they maintain it? How do they continue?
Galena the cutback. Galena shooting, deflected down and handled. Kyle Bjornathan stymied that last second shot.
Good slide over by Robert Boskovic, his running mate on the back line as well. Those two recognizing the threat coming over the middle of the park. Good job stepping into the space. But we have seen it from Bethlehem in the past where they come out early, they come out often, but unfortunately after 15, 20 minutes, it'll start to, step off a little bit. Sometimes Brendan Burke gets calculated. He'll want to apply a high press. He'll want to put the pressure in, make the other teams to make a mistake, and they'll go get a goal. They've done that early on. Are they going to continue this pressure or pull back?
Endo. Throw for Muhammad, 18-year-old who joined the side in August. Bit wayward. Ferris can get forward. Endo, right-footed blast! It's over the crossbar.
Tell you what, don't sleep on this man. We've already told you what he's capable of. He pulled 2 like this versus FC Cincinnati last week, one of which gave them the go-ahead goal with just 15 minutes to play. Alan Koch and company had different ideas coming down the stretch. They were able to crawl back and get a 4-3 victory, but Tsubasa Endo had a hat trick versus the Orange and Blue. Did such a good job, and 2 of which were from long-range distance like that.
Turned over, and Aronson working with Shaluya. Ball had a little bit of malaise to it. Quarter of an hour gone. It's blue jerseys now, but they had gold warm-ups on this Bethlehem Steel side pregame. The Steel going gold today in partnership with the Pediatric Cancer Foundation of Lehigh Valley. If you go to B Steel FC on Twitter, you can see the current auction ongoing for those pregame warm-ups with names and numbers from players on the roster. And some of the bids are starting to get up there a little bit. There's going to be some real good done here.
Had my eye on that Brendan Aronson jersey, but it's starting to skyrocket. Not sure if I can get involved in that bidding war.
No, not a good look. McCarthy is up there.
Where are you going?
I mean, Matt Mahoney, his parents must be putting money down on this, because that is not an insignificant amount of money. Goodness. But it's a wonderful initiative, and your chance. Ball cut back. Aronson trying to do something special with it. Patterson Sewell collected off the hop. They've got a trusty Richie Marquez. I think Santi Moar is a good one.
I believe they have a full
team, the whole team. Yeah.
Where are we at? Okay. Yeah, I see that one.
Right.
Ooh. I'm definitely out of the running for that. I have to talk to the producer, see if I can get a pay increase.
I'm doing a really poor job of working on my jersey collection. Galena, what a sliding challenge. Muhammad comes in, dispossesses Galena on the run. Scarf guy, jersey guy?
Jersey.
So you've got your Celtic gear on today.
It was a gift.
It was a gift.
Painting was a gift, Todd.
That one was a gift.
It's probably the only time outside of my home that I will wear something that is not red and white.
Yeah. Stoke.
Easy. Easy.
Patterson Sewell takes over. Angelo Cavalluzzo out still. A lengthy injury spell. And he's filled in pretty admirably. Frazier. This is Bjornathan. Well, here comes the pressure, and that was really the discussion this week about defense, that the press wasn't being adequately handled by what typically has become 4 very young players trying to work as a unit. This is a little bit behind from Frazier.
We've seen it in spurts so far, but if you are going to employ it and play that high press, everybody has to buy into it. It starts at the number 9 up top and works all the way back through your attacking front, because they really are the first line of defense. And you're pushing forward, something starts to come the other direction. They've done a good job so far. Boskovic, Bjornathan trying to come out of the back, haven't been able to just a second ago. Noble Okello in the middle of the field. There's good pressure. Bright Aronson just sliding in, making Okello push it all the way back to the goalkeeper and start over. That's what Brendan Burke wants.
Kubel. Hendo tried to get up there and meet it. I think part of the question with Toronto is if they are going to play this wide open, they have the athletes in the back to be able to keep up when they do turn the ball over, because Bethlehem, when they have gotten out in numbers, look very threatening.
They are beyond impressive when they have space to run with it. We've seen them do it for so many talented squads. Bob Lilly, Pittsburgh Riverhounds. And I like to go back to the Cincinnati matchup, because both at Lehigh and when they went to Nippert, both of their goals were in transition like that. It's actually the first time that Brendan Aronson had gotten involved on the offensive side of things, had a nice little flick on that ended up in a Corey Burke sighting.
Endo, high bounce. Recovered by Frazier, slid away from Kubel. And recovered by Bjornathan. Now this will run out. Well, the problem with that pass is this pressure is continuing to grow. Toronto's bypassed it entirely. Akinola pushing it forward. Akinola takes it in the box now. Ricochet away. Mohammed will throw. Serbo plays it outside. Toronto, maybe their most extended look on the ball so far. 22nd minute. Goal in the second from Ferris. Bethlehem and Toronto, do they have an answer? A little ricochet from Serbo out off of Aubrey. Gives him a pat on the back.
Impressive play by the visitors. Nice interweaving in and out. This is some of the defensive woes we've talked about by Bethlehem Steel. Serbo just uses his momentum, leans his body to the left a bit. As he brings it back across his body, space opens up for him right at the top of the 18. Bethlehem Steel have to close down faster in those situations, but it's good ball movement from the visitors.
Endo will take the corner. Header skied. Aubrey was pushed from behind. Well, Aubrey is a unique case for Bethlehem. Chambers goes back. Aubrey there. Surely we'll be talking about him along the way. Aubrey playing the last couple of years for Toronto FC, and you know, he called it bittersweet. Devin, I know you've been in situations where you're playing against friends and former teammates. We already saw a little bit of that I don't know, compassion after taking a shot off his hip a moment ago. But it's a unique thing, isn't it?
He left his relationship very well in Toronto when he left and got the opportunity to come to Bethlehem Steel. But it is one where you step out and you have two thoughts. One, you you want to go and stick it to them. You always want to put on a good performance. But number two, you want to show them what could have been. You want to say, hey, you know what? It's kind of like the girlfriend looking at the boyfriend like, oh, hey, look what you left, and goes and finds a different guy. It's a similar situation where everybody steps out and you just want to prove what you're capable of. And oh, has he ever, since he's come into Bethlehem Steel. Aubrey has been a regular for Brendan Burke in the starting 11. That's saying something considering the amount of players that they use in and out of this system, constantly rotating different lineups. Just a few weeks ago, it was something along the lines of like 89 different lineups over the course of 89 games or something. I mean, there's so much talent in this organization. For Brandon Aubrey to step in after his time in Toronto and come over here, show what he's made of. Solid performance by that youngster.
Yeah, I think he'd like to imagine that Toronto got the boy and Bethlehem will get the man. At 23 years old, he is, I think by my count, the second oldest player on the field for Bethlehem today. Chambers, the 31-year-old, steps in. Moar's 25. Apologies.
Metrics were never your thing.
No. Cross field, that'll run too far. Bethlehem scoring in the 2nd minute of play. Ferris, at the time, 29th player Bethlehem has used this year. Go off your previous point of varied lineups. This is the youngest team Bethlehem has ever fielded. Average age just over 20, 5 players under the age of 20. Toronto FC2 side that is thoroughly eliminated from the playoffs. Maybe that's more pressure on Bethlehem, considering how well Toronto's played of late. Bethlehem great when they score first. Toronto is winless.
10-2-2. What a fantastic record. And unfortunately, Toronto, well, they've only got 3 wins. They've never been able to do it while coming from behind. They were able to get it knotted even, got 2 draws out of it. Remember, as young as Bethlehem Steel is, Toronto FC2 just behind them, 22.36 is their average. So both these squads really trying to tailor their youth at such a young level. Try and gain them that valuable experience to continue to push them through the ranks.
Aubrey for Fontana, who's continued to impress. Header up by Ferris, who looks a little ginger after that aerial challenge. And Galena goes in and leaves Bjornathan in his wake.
Galena, not the worst that we've seen from him. Just steps in, gets ahead of himself, leaves himself exposed. Referee blows the whistle. Quick play by Liam Fraser to start getting things going again. Been very impressed by this young man, Okello. He's done a very good job holding up play for Toronto too.
Ferris, maybe too much on this. Galena will bring it in. Galena, that'll deflect out. Well, noble defending from Boskovic. Aronson was streaking towards that back post. Pride of the Ryerson Rams, Boskovic. Chambers. Aronson plays it forward and slid away from Santi Moar.
It's a good tackle from Tariq Mohammed on the left side. He was one who was such an integral piece in that 4-1 victory at Slugger Field a few weeks ago when they took down Louisville City. Very active in the possession game as well as attacking going forward. More defensive today, and he's going to have his hands full because Michi Galena, Matt Mahoney on the right side are constantly going to be challenging that line. You have to wonder what the better combination is. Is it Bizo and Galena or Matt Mahoney and Galena? Mahoney is so talented because they'll use him at the marking back position as well as center back. But it's nice to see things switched up. We've seen him primarily employed alongside Brandon Aubrey recently. This time he's getting a chance to counterpunch on the outside right side.
And of course, his pregame warm-up is trending so well in the auction. Mahoney and his jersey, so hot right now. Ball lifted long. Boy, iffy from Patterson Sewell. Did the job, though. Serbel. Head by Frazier. Liam Frazier now. The turn sets it up to Endo. Gets the return. Clever stuff. Serbel. Give and go. Now winds it up the left side. Akinola. Akinola and a kick save from McGuire. Still more. And the shot rings well to the left of the post.
It's the first time we've seen Ayo Akinola really get an opportunity to have a look on net. Jake McGuire squared up on the near post, does a good job. And defensively, Bethlehem did a good job shifting over to the right side. But too much interchanging play for the visitors right at the top. We've referenced their ability to remain compact defensively. You could see Matt Serbel just doing basically anything he wanted to right at the top of the 18.
That'll run away from Mahoney. That is shockingly positive. Makes you wonder where the results are. Endo. This guy is on some kind of tear. Back heel return falls just short. The idea was right. Chambers gets it by Akinola.
You can see the thought process there from Toronto FC too. Good stuff from Matt Serbel a second ago. Nice combination play between he and Tsubasa Endo on the right side. And if it's not for Brandon Aubrey reading that play, getting a touch on the back heel by Serbel, this could end up in a one-on-one situation for Endo. We know what that's done recently. It's 7 goals past 5 games. Just such an impressive stat. They've done it versus good teams too. FC Cincinnati, Louisville. We'll call them the Giant Killers. They do possess that capability, but Brendan Burke and his boys look good so far.
Galena did not see Santi Moar on the other side. See a little frustration written on Moar there. Matthew Serbel, Endo. Endo onto his left. Step over. Chambers is there. Ferris coming back from an offside position. Wow, that slide goes right to Akinola, and he'll line this up. May get across the footbridge. That has gone a long way.
Frustrating first half for the big guy up top. It's been difficult. Second time we've seen him have the ball at his feet. First one was a nice strike just a few seconds ago. McGuire had it. Ekinol on this one lines it up. Form at the end just fails him, leaning back. Taxi.
Busy day around the USL, 14 games, this the first of the bunch. Galena trying to combine with Ferris. Contact and no whistle. Busy college football day as well. Pitt falling to North Carolina earlier today. Penn State winning yesterday. Penn Quakers and the Lehigh Mountain Hawks meeting up. A little Ivy Patriot League.
Big game.
Absolutely it is.
Big game.
If that's sarcasm, I won't be having it.
I'm dead serious. Big game.
Good.
Hard to believe I know a little bit about the Ivy League.
I hope so. Well, that's the wrong league to know about, friend.
The Nittany Lions did some work last night.
Against the Ivy League?
No.
This will come to Patterson-Sewell. Patterson-Sewell held that into the last moment, then misses, sending it to Boskovic. Really didn't give that much of an effort for it.
No effort, not even much of one. Just brush it aside, let it go over the touchline for Bethlehem to collect. Wasn't a bad job by the goalkeeper, just holding off the threat. Just pushed it to a center back who wants no part of it.
Galena, burst of speed and a foul. Only question is there a card to come with it? Should be, and there is. When Galena decided he was going to get to the edge, there was no question. Muhammad's still arguing this, but I don't know that he has much of a leg to stand on.
Drake's definitely deserving of a yellow card in this situation. Galena, such a speedster when he gets the ball at his feet. They get him in open space a lot of times. It's hard enough to track him down, yet alone right here. Just one quick touch by, that's what he does. Rick Muhammad lets him get the best of him, reaches out, pulls him down. Felt it was a bit soft, but definitely committed the foul. Dangerous opportunity here for the home squad. We've seen James Chambers whip balls in from the side. Santi Moore likes to get involved, and of course Anthony Fontana. Looks like he's gonna get his opportunity.
Fontana for Aubrey. I think there is a subset, if not the whole set, Bethlehem players who would like to see 44 score today. Aronson will move over. Service a bit short. Will be a goal kick.
Some expletives very politely put by goalkeeper Patterson-Sewell to our head referee. Didn't necessarily agree with the referee's decision to bring that back.
Well, he's got a whole bag of his name on it. Keeps that up. Aronson. Chambers. Aubrey sliding in. Galena. Galena a little pushing and shoving with Muhammad. So bypass Telfer and Akinola. Couple teams, they'll run that 4-2-3-1, and it does seem like they've lined three players up on the left-hand side, and it's sort of left Telfer in no man's land in this game, hasn't it?
They're playing cat and mouse a bit going forward because the better marking back for Toronto 2 is Tim Kubel at the right back position. But unfortunately, he doesn't really have that combination play with Ryan Telfer, so they switched him over to the left side. They bring over Tsubasa Endo. We've seen most of the play there, but then on the defensive side of things, Mohamed's been struggling because he has to take on Galena. You can see him constantly trying to move things around. But Bethlehem Steel has definitely had the better run of play with it.
Galena's going to regret that. He had Moar and Ferris streaking in.
Some of that has to do, Telfer being in no man's land is the challenge by Galena. Aubrey pushing him high up the pitch, and he's constantly having to track back, or at least try to track back and help out. Hasn't been able to successfully do so. That's why you've seen Mitchie Galena so active.
Serbal, Telfer, all for Akinola. Telfer will drop this to Okello. And Bethlehem Steel unleashed again. Ferris found. Ferris one-on-one. Tries to send a curling ball across. It's out of the reach of Santi Moar.
We referenced earlier how green he is and kind of needs to be tailored. You just got a real good look why that first touch needs to be out in front of him, angled towards the goal to close down the angle. That will still provide him the option to play the ball back across the 6 or right around the penalty mark if he wants to cut it back. But it gives him a better opportunity in a one-on-one situation when he wants to challenge the goalkeeper. Instead, he comes around the outside of the ball, brings it to the byline, where he's basically taken himself out of the equation, and the only thing he can do is knock the ball back across the box.
Telfer striding in, hits the brakes, over Endo, Kubel. So Bethlehem scoring their 51st goal of the season, extending their franchise record for single season goal scoring. It was Ferris's second of the year, came in the second minute, and Bethlehem a 1-0 lead over Toronto. And I don't think there's any match in the league that's drawing more eyeballs right now than Bethlehem in the East, because it affects everybody above them, their ability to clinch today, notably Louisville. Akinola didn't have a lot of help. Telfer reverses. Dangerous, dangerous challenge. There's Tim Kubel there. He and Moar clean things up.
That's dangerous.
Chambers, yeah, is still arguing.
Dangerous from behind for sure, because he comes in right behind Santi Moar, studs up on him, gets that back right ankle. And you and I love having the opportunity to come out and call these games, but it is kind of nice getting down to the nitty-gritty towards the end of the season. And every game, even though Toronto's eliminated, Toronto too, every game has a playoff implication.
And then there's that morbid curiosity of a toilet bowl game. Happens from time to time. Sometimes those end up being the best for whatever reason. Shaluya driving ahead with Ferris in mind. Coming up at halftime, we'll show you what that race looks like. The three teams in particular behind Bethlehem Steel don't have quite an enticing finish to their regular season schedule. Should give the Steel some optimism. And Brendan Burke didn't say this was must win as in if we don't win, we're out. He said it's must win if you don't want to leave it to going on the road to Ottawa and Indy and getting points. And you get a win here, and all of a sudden you have a chance at getting into that top four. And instead of having to face the end that you faced last year, that 4-0 drubbing at the hands of Louisville on the road, maybe you can have a team coming to the Lehigh Valley instead.
Fortunately for Brendan Burke, they are pretty regular no matter where they go, home or away. Rennekert's quite similar. But it is interesting how we kind of expanded on that a bit further. And I said, listen, you know, do you need to win out? He said, no, we get 4 points, we're good.
Aronson, Chambers, slide in from behind by Boskovic.
Chambers shocked he wanted this ball a bit sooner. Aronson does hesitate and allows Boskovic the ability to get back. This is behind him. Difficult angle for the referee. Chambers wants that earlier at his feet so he can finish it off, rightfully so.
Chambers has 3 goals this year as he's crossed over the 2,000-minute plateau in that 4-1 loss at Pittsburgh. Last time out, Chambers scoring in that game. Chambers, high arcing stuff. Bounces down to Galena. Galena crossing over Aubrey, header down from Moar. This won't count. He gave a real strong shove to create that space.
Great job by Galena to keep this play alive, challenging Mohammed once again, who's lost that battle a few times today. And it was the run by Aubrey in the middle as he was going toe-to-toe with Bjornathan.
Patterson Sewell's having another discussion here with the referee. They have not been on the same wavelength so far off those goal kicks. Header back, and that's well handled by the young Matt Mahoney. Mahoney out of that former A-10 school Temple. Moved to the American. Well, no stoppage at all, and Bethlehem get the early goal. And Devin for Brendan Burke, he challenged his team. Was asking more off the bye week. He's gotten it through 45 minutes.
Came out early, showed what they were made of. Unfortunately, they weren't able to get a second goal and kind of put this to bed. Plenty of time to do that. Good stuff from Bethlehem Steel in the opening 45 minutes. Toronto, too, down but not out. Seen some very enticing play from Tsubasa Endo, no surprise, as well as Matt Serbel in the 10 spot in the middle. But they need to get Telfer involved if they want to have a chance in the second half.
Coming up, we'll show you news and notes from around the league, including an announcement that you simply can't miss on Tuesday. We'll tell you absolutely everything we know about it. And we'll also show you first half highlights, stats, and more coming up. Bethlehem Steel ahead, 1-0 over Toronto at the half.
The heat will wear you out real quick. And we've been through some hot ones. It's very physical. You gotta take care of your body and stay hydrated because every moment matters. That's why I drink Advocare Rehydrate. I've got a job to do.
It can happen over time or in a snap. If joint or muscle pain has taken you out of the game, we can identify the root cause of your problem and develop a sport-specific treatment plan to get you moving again. Over 400 medical experts strong, the region's only nationally ranked program. That's Orthopedics in Action at Lehigh Valley Health Network.
Hey Union fans, Dunkin' Donuts has the perfect assist for DD Perks members this season. Score medium hot or iced coffee for $1 the day of every Union home game when you use on-the-go mobile ordering in the Dunkin' app. Order ahead, skip the wait in store, and go! Enroll in DD Perks today and order your next Dunkin' run on the go. Dunkin' Donuts, the official coffee of the Philadelphia Union. The Union runs on Dunkin'.
Back at Goodman Stadium as the Bethlehem Steel and Toronto FC2 matched up in a mid to late September Equinox matchup. The Steel a goal in the second minute. They hold the advantage As fans are off to the concession stands, getting ready for this second half. Next up for Bethlehem Steel, they take on a team that is Jekyll and Hyde in Ottawa Fury.
Gleb Popovich, you and I have chatted quite a few times about this. They switched up their system and started to be more defensive-minded, go more direct in a transitional play. It's succeeded for them, unfortunately, just not on a regular basis. They've got some work to do first, though. They are going to Slugger Field to take on John Hackworth in Louisville City tonight.
Here's what's remaining for Bethlehem. Only 3 more games and 1 more at home. And I think both Bethlehem and Tampa Bay have different ideas of what that last game should look like. I think the Rowdies hope that's their last gasp to get in. I think Bethlehem's hoping that they don't need to worry about it.
It's interesting because if you look at Bethlehem Steel as a whole, if they bring their A game, they should be a cakewalk. They should be able to go to Ottawa and then deal with Martin Rennie at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indy 11 and get a victory there. But it is just so difficult to go on the road and win games. We've seen that with so many teams who are absolutely fantastic at home, just can't get it done on the road.
And they are playing on turf at Ottawa and Indy too, which only complicates matters. Here's what the Eastern Conference standings look like. Of course, Bethlehem with the gold logo on the day sit 3 points behind Indy and maybe a more insurmountable 7 points behind Charleston for that number 4 position, and everybody above them have a game in hand. So perhaps the focus is on making sure that you get the matchup you want. Right now, they'd have to go face Pittsburgh, and you think back to that loss they had to them, not all bad. You hung in with them.
You go a step further, you can actually drop all the way down to the 13th spot at Penn FC. Although they're a bit further behind with Nashville, they're still sitting on 35 points. So only 7 points separating 6th and 13th. The Eastern Conference group very tightly together.
And the 3 teams behind them, that is number 7, 8, and 9. And the toughest schedule belongs to Ottawa in part because they have to take on Bethlehem. And their teams nipping at the heels. You mentioned Tampa Bay in that neck of the woods, Nashville right beneath this group. It's really a talented set of teams that could miss out.
Difficult games as well. Red Bull's going to be traveling to the Charlotte Independence this evening. Tampa Bay Rowdies should have a layup against Richmond Kickers, but you never know what you're going to get out of that squad either. Very up and down in their performances. Richmond will then turn around and get the game of the week versus FC Cincinnati next week. Nashville, they're just there right behind. They're going to be taking on Charleston Battery. Anheuser got his 1 millionth win this year. He just seems to just continuously put up the W's. And NCFC, though they've got a little bit of time to themselves, they're going to have to get the job done. You know, Daniel Rios has been fantastic, but NCFC, OKC Energy, they remind me of teams that just, you know, they started so flat early on in the year and they've made their way back. Fantastic over the past few months, but it was just abysmal in the first 6 weeks or so.
So Bethlehem has a 1-0 lead over Toronto at halftime. Team's about to retake the field. We'll show you the very best from week 27 and show you the very best from the first half coming up after.
Theo takes a shot, and that one is good.
And so Francis tapped over the bar by Dan Lind.
Shank cutting it across, the shot is on and in. Hernandez.
Tipped over the bar by Perino. That's number 1 at his best.
Here's Saeed. Goal! Oh my goodness!
Off to Adi, a save is made by Patterson Sewell.
To the right foot of Rio, shot goal!
David Olsen goes for goal, tipped up by Wazinski.
Tsubasa Endo with a great-looking strike. Endo with some room. Takes a strike. Endo hits it and has a hat trick. Forced lasso. Oh, look at Fernando Adi. Into the box. Fernando Adi, far post. Into the box. Corbin Bone. Corbin Bone heads it in. With that goal, Manu Ledesma sets a new USL record for assists in a season.
Goal and a score! Incredible goal!
Tampa Bay. They'll try and send one in on the ground. Score! And his service in finds the back of the net.
Wow. It's headed back across and down and in.
And is buried into the back of the net.
This could be their moment. It's Baril! Yes!
Ball to Decker, and what a shot at the corner of the net.
Right footed shot, and he has it. And St. Louis has stolen a goal. Now headed in for a goal.
Oh, and St. Louis has done it.
And there it is. He's just scored.
And then Chart turns the near post, is scored.
Bends it in. Brett shot is denied and stopped again.
Tambaki's got just enough of a look at it.
And he puts it in. Rips that shot. Followed up and in. And he puts his team ahead once again.
It's in! There it is! 2-0 Orange and Blue!
Now setting up the fight goal, and it's in!
Does it again! Saved by Newton. Spagenberg with a diving save. Putting on a show today.
One of the most famed franchises in North America, the Richmond Kickers, are going to be a founding member of USL Division III next year, and a continued celebration in year 26 of their franchise, September 26th, as they take on FC Cincinnati. Devin, FCC, if they aren't going to win the league outright, they've certainly got a grip on the #1 seed. All they need to do is either get a point tonight or watch Louisville drop one.
Everybody knows them for how good they've been offensively, but defensively it's been beyond impressive. Forrest Lasso has done such a good job making that backline his own. Alan Koch getting everybody to buy into that system. If they are able to go the rest of the regular season unbeaten, they will set the single season record for unbeaten matches at 23.
So you'll see that on ESPN3. Here's the upcoming schedule on ESPN Plus. As Charleston and North Carolina, all kinds of playoff seeding. Maybe for North Carolina, simply playoff implications. Same could be said for Indy 11 and Tampa Bay Rowdies. And the Riverhounds are still nipping for that #2 seed.
They'd like to get there. They've really been trading blows over the course of the season with Charleston Battery, really 2, 3, and 4, Louisville City and Pittsburgh Riverhounds constantly changing places. But #1's always been at the top, FC Cincinnati. Las Vegas is going to be in one of those game of the weeks as well, as Phoenix Rising will travel, but they're going to have to do it without Sola El Chalis. Say bye-bye. Unfortunately, he has decided to part ways with the club. You know, the club's headed in a different direction. How about Haji Berry? 7 games in a row. Now, to be fair, that's a fantastic stat. Like, beyond impressive.
Yeah.
But he has been able to do it with all home games. They've played 7 out of their last 8 at home.
Wow. That is poor. And how about, do you know what's going on Tuesday?
There's rumors.
There are rumors.
I'm getting a haircut.
Yeah, okay. All right. 1 p.m. Eastern time. You aren't going to want to miss it. It'll be across all of USL's very many social media channels. Major league-wide announcement. You aren't going to want to miss it. It's a big, big deal. Halftime here. We'll have highlights and stats for the first half when we come back.
This is St. Pete Clearwater, home to 35 miles of white sand bliss. But it's more than emerald surf and Gulf breezes. The beach is an attitude. It's the vibe of life, nature, art, music, or whatever brings you joy. Experience the American tropics on Florida's Gulf Coast in St. Pete Clearwater. Love the beach.
Do-it-yourself stores may be fine for garden hoses and 2x4s, but appliances? Those guys may know these washers, but Kleckner & Sons knows these washers, and ranges, and refrigerators, and more. GE and GE Profile appliances are designed to reflect the modern approach to style, with clean lines and a streamlined look for today's kitchens. So for wood screws and wheelbarrows, go ahead, do it yourself. But for the right appliances at the right price, let Kleckner & Sons do it for you.
It can happen over time or in a snap. If joint or muscle pain has taken you out of the game, we can identify the root cause of your problem and develop a sport-specific treatment plan to get you moving again. Over 400 medical experts strong, the region's only nationally ranked program. That's Orthopedics in Action at Lehigh Valley Health Network.
1-0 Bethlehem Steel at halftime. Teams retaking the field with Devin Kerr, Mike Watts alongside. If we don't have any info on, well, what's happening Tuesday at 1 p.m., the least we can do is show you what happened in the first half as we look at our opening half highlights. For Bethlehem, the challenge laid down, a gauntlet from Brendan Burke, and a perfect ball through sets up Ferris, who holds off the defender. Second minute, 1-0.
We were chatting off camera about Prosper Tradula and how he's been so quiet, but he got going early, played a nice ball in, back line exposed for Toronto too. Boscovich tries to make his way back in, but they were too flat. There's too much speed up top by Ferris, just uses it, exploits the back line, gets in one-on-one situation, beats Patterson Sewell, puts them out in the second minute early lead, 1-0 Bethlehem.
Toronto 0-16-2 when they concede first, and they could have conceded a couple in this first half. Aronson this time.
Surprised that Brendan Aronson didn't finish this off, sets himself up so well, puts it right out in front, just knocks it over the bar. Visitors would start to counterpunch. Tsubasa Endo has a go from about 25 yards out right at the top of the box. Again, James Chambers gets himself in high water. Unfortunately, too much space there. And then the number 9, Akinola, would try and find an equalizer for his squad. Couldn't do so. Great save on the near post by Jake McGuire to keep it 1-0 Bethlehem Steel.
Not a ton of work for McGuire in that first half, but he did the work he needed to do. Akinola standing over the ball in the red jersey for TFC 2. 6 wins in each of the last 3 years, but they've plummeted to just 3 with 5 games to go. Akinola kicks off, and for Bethlehem, 45 minutes away from what would be a major win to buoy their playoff hopes. 5:38 from ESPN did a couple things that were interesting. For one, they created a 1 through, I think it's like 640 worldwide club ranking that was worth paying some attention to. USL was in there. But a step further, they came up with playoff odds and USL Cup odds, and the odds for Bethlehem are good. 76% chance they make the playoffs, according to 538.
Pretty solid number. A few games remaining. For me, it all goes back to the games in hand. I chatted with Brendan Burke about this, and you can look at it as half full, half empty, depending on how you like your water, but
I think it's about 76% full, Devin.
Is that what it is? That's where right now? You know, everybody, oh, games in hand, games in hand.
Ferris. Oh, this could be a little bit more away from Galena. Yeah, you got to go get points, don't you?
I'm all from the school of thought that even though you have the opportunity to go out and challenge someone, maybe get more points than them, still got to go get the job done. Bethlehem Steel has already laid down the groundwork for everybody to chase them. Even though they may only be 1, 2, 3 points up on them, they're still out in front.
Galena overhits this with Moar in mind. And how many teams do you see fumble away games in hand? A couple of years ago, there was a team in the Western Conference, so this will play to the feet of Patterson Sewell, who were sitting 5, 6. Everyone said, well, they've got 3 games in hand on everybody. They could be in second. Well, shoulda, woulda, coulda, they didn't. Well, those playoff hopes sort of collapsed under the weight.
Located in the tent on the concourse. Stop by to check out their awesome sales and the item of the match, which today
Fraser got demolished.
Jerseys are only $12, and 5% of all sales will go back to PCFLV.
Steel going gold for Pediatric Cancer pregame, wearing special gold shirts. The bids for that auction will run through the 70th minute. Ball slipped through. Excellent for Galena. Galena the finish. continuing to be a revelation, both in goal scoring and in celebration. 2-0 Bethlehem.
The African contingent taking over here. The Cameroonian Ferris didn't recognize the run by Michi Galina on the far post. Brendan Aronson, so talented in the middle, recognizes the great overlapping run by the outside mid, just slots it right in front of him. Galina picks out the far post and goes to work with his backflips. Phenomenal stuff from Bethlehem Steel.
Did you see he did a partial rotation of his hand so that he'd flip the right way? That was not a clean flip. 5th goal of the year for Galina.
We'll get you out there pregame next time.
Select is the official soccer ball of the United Soccer League. For the latest Select products and special offers, visit selectsportamerica.com. Receive shipping on orders of $50 or more.
I'm going to take that as a hard no.
Advertisements are the ultimate Saved by the Bell. That is a play-by-play man's best dream.
Bethlehem Steel goal scored by number 46, Michi Galina.
You know, Michi Galina had a very good first half, to the point where he almost felt like he deserved something to show for it on the stat sheet. Perhaps it's no surprise they've come out 3 minutes into the second and grabbed that goal. Galina doing a lot of work. Mahoney slicing it back. It's just off frame. Aronson.
Had a couple calls from the compatriots behind him, wanting him to leave this ball. Aronson felt like he could tuck it inside the near post. Would have had Patterson's well beat for sure. Again, Galina getting involved in the act. Nice overlapping run by Mahoney.
Five minutes into the second half, and a similar story to the first half. The dynamic athleticism, Bethlehem on display. A goal 2 minutes into the game and 3 minutes into the second half. Have Toronto a bit in the lurch right now. Devin Kerr, Mike Watts. Attack is on through Serbol. Poked off his foot. Ball played ahead for Aronson. Slide in was strong from Boskovic. Go back for a moment. The auction link for those gold pregame jerseys are on the Bethlehem Steel Twitter page. You just got to do a little bit of scrolling. And you can go home with one of these nice new warm-ups that the players wore ahead of the game today. All benefiting the Pediatric Cancer Foundation of the Lehigh Valley.
It's about done, huh? I believe the auction ends around the 70th minute, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I need to take a break, by the way. I'm going to get out of here, runs. Lucky number 68, like on eBay, just bid now, bid now, bid now.
Right.
Catch everybody right at the end.
Yellow card coming.
The yellow card given to Bethlehem Steel's number 44, Brandon.
Now go to Brandon Aubrey.
52nd minute.
He wasn't able to get his goal earlier, but he's still going to leave here with a bit of something for his trophy room. Doing some due diligence with Akinola up top. Yeah, if those are trophies, I am an absolute legend in that area. Have a boatload of hardware at my house.
Turned over again and slipped through. Boskovic. That'll be a handball. Telfer. Telfer going wide. Pressing Mahoney all the way to the end line. Corner coming for Toronto. Ryan Telfer signing with Toronto on April 13th. Last year was with TFC2, native of the Toronto area in Canada. Spent some time with the brilliant York Lions. Service off the corner. Ferris able to clear this. A run away from Endo. Devin, I think back to the conversation we had this week. How did you use the bye week? Did you give the lads a little time off? And Brendan Burke really said no. They went up to NYCFC and played a scrimmage at their facility, full 90 minutes, and worked on fitness. And you and I came away really impressed by how they've come out of this bye week. They didn't take the foot off the gas at all.
Very impressive, and I loved the story, and the backstory, I should say, of exactly everything that went on in that trip. Asked about, who got looks in the game from both sides of the field. He said, NYCFC, that they used a lot of their regulars, maybe not necessarily all of their big names. Went a step further and asked Brendan Burke what he thought about strapping on the boots, maybe taking on Claudio Reyna.
Toronto reaching the byline. This will be a corner.
He always tells me that he doesn't get involved anymore with training with his boys, that he just goes out and puts them through the motions, that his playing days are over. And if he had the opportunity to play against a legend like Reyna, would he have gotten stuck in? Quite politely, absolutely.
Burke last played college ball at BC. That's going to be offensive, saying BU.
You're going to hear it about that one. Yeah.
2005. Bjornathan bouncing all the way through. Serbal is collected. First touch goes back. Aubrey steps in. Flag was up for offside regardless. I get all those Beanpot teams mixed up sometimes.
Easy. But you track back to the NYCFC experiment, we'll call it, and it's easy to go, okay, we've got a bye week, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Let's go out and let's schedule a game. We'll get an inter-squad challenge, something like that. They go a step further. They go above and beyond. You track yourself to an MLS quality squad, and the guys, they don't get an opportunity to experience stuff like that on a regular basis. Obviously with the Philadelphia Union and their organization, but stepping outside of the familiarity of seeing guys on a regular basis in training, their tendencies, switching stuff up and gaining that experience for such a young age group, just so valuable.
I can promise you James Chambers would have gotten stuck in on Claudio Reyna. I know that.
Oh, that ankle's broken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here comes Mahoney. Mahoney brought down. It's a penalty. Mohamed is beside himself. Felt the contact was incidental at worst.
Ryan Telfer gets his pocket picked right at the top of the box. Great step in. Mohamed tries to slide over, and this is going to be a match day he'd like to quickly forget. Not one of his best performances. He's been lit up all day long on that left side of the pitch. James Chambers, as we've seen him before, going to step up from the spot and have a go.
7th time Toronto has conceded a penalty this year. Just one of the many defensive miscues they've had this year and on this day. Chambers getting it just underneath Patterson Sewell. Another penalty cashed in for Chambers. He's scored in 2 games running, and the skipper puts Bethlehem up 3-0.
You see so many antics from the penalty mark in this day and age. The stutter step, playing the mind games with the goalkeeper. I like this. Chambers just steps up, puts his head down, already has it picked out ahead of time, just puts proper pace behind the ball, picks out the far post, and is able to bury it. That's just one where you go up, grip it and rip it, and it's nice to see him find the back of the net again.
How vicious was that look back after the fact, by the way? Well, that's a nice moment for James Chambers, who's dealt with that right MCL sprain earlier this year and has spent some time at home over these last couple of years for varying reasons, and They say he's the pulse of the team, an extension of the team. Earlier this year when the team was on a bit of a downslope, they asked James Chambers to be the guy to step up. He's the one who spoke to the team. As Malik Hamilton will check on. There it goes. It's enough for Telfer.
Rough night for that side of the field. Both Telfer and Tariq Mohammed quite struggling over the course of the match. Consistently being exploited by the Bethlehem Steel, doing a good job recognizing that they have a great matchup they like over there. Interestingly enough, TFC2 were the ones that made that move early on, but Brendan Steele was happy to accommodate them. The right side of the pitch has been the go-to.
And Malik Hamilton, an interesting pickup out of Calgary, who's been really with the West Ham Academy now for the last 8-9 years. This only his second appearance, 51 in red. Flag is up for offside.
Had an opportunity to catch him at Slugger Field in the Louisville game a few weeks back. We referenced earlier they took him down 4-1 and very composed. You can see that although 18 years of age, the Canadian knows exactly what he's capable of. Just a good job remaining consistent in the middle of the field. Doesn't lack any confidence whatsoever. Will consistently cut in and bring the ball across and try and combine with Matt Serbel. They were able to get that done. He and Endo did some work up top. And Del Piccolo was out of the middle of the field. But James Sands had a run of it, and Lexi Suahi, they really struggled.
Quick restart. I think everyone thought that had gotten over the touchline. Late challenge. Will be a throw. Past the hour mark in the Lehigh Valley. And all good, man. 3-0 Bethlehem. Bethlehem still has a ways to go to clinch a playoff position.
This won't hurt, will it?
No.
Especially when you take a look around the league and see exactly what's going on later on tonight. We've talked about a few of them earlier, but Red Bull 2 and Charlotte going to take on each other. FC Cincinnati look to continue their streak against Penn FC. Penn FC, if they have any sort of hope whatsoever, that glimmer is going to have to be done tonight. And they take on Alan Koch and the boys. How about Martin Rennie? Indy 11 and Pittsburgh Riverhounds going to do battle. Ottawa, Louisville, and the Rowdies taking on Richmond. So a lot going on in the Eastern Conference still. Later on tonight, 8:30, Nashville will be hosting Charleston Battery. That'll be a nice one too.
Faria comes on for Endo, whose scoring streak comes to a staggering halt.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is a last call for beer.
Last chance to bid on those gold pregame jerseys. Another 8 minutes or so. If there are no bids, I think by default, Devin and I get to keep them.
I'm in.
A little cutback. Doesn't find Serbal. Those are some classic TFC-looking jerseys. Those BMO across the chest. I'd get one of those. I'd be happy with one of those.
I like the socks. I'm a sock guy.
That's what NHL jerseys looked like in the 1990s. Like maybe the color grade look. Aronson, advantage played. He has been a real bright light, the youngster. Flag was up.
Aronson felt like referee should have blown a foul here in the middle as he got a nice forearm to the back of his shoulder trying to push forward.
Lifted back toward Bjornathan. He found a way to make that look harder than it needed to be. Ferris. Ferris for Galena. Flag should go up. It does.
It's not easy to pick this out, but in our conversation with Brendan Burke, he was actually quite frustrated with Ferris and kind of his ability to buy into their defensive shape. We referenced it earlier on, and the squad itself, how like to employ that high press. You see it right there. Anthony Fontana coming out of the middle, challenging up top. As the ball gets played back into the middle, Ferris should already have been stepping. Now TFC2 makes a poor play. The ball bounces out in front of him, and he's able to go the other direction. But as a number 9 up top, if you can apply that threat, as soon as that ball comes right back across the middle, someone's got to go and win that 50-50. He can collect it, and that ball can be played sooner. They don't have to blow it offside.
Galena trying to pump the brakes. Was slowed. So he approached the byline. Now Hamilton commits a foul, and Bethlehem wants to play here up 3. No hitch in their step yet. Toronto now 69 goals conceded this year. And in the last 4 games, they've, I guess now 4+, allowed 16 while scoring 10.
It's not a recipe for success, is it?
Clearly not.
And we talked about their first half goals and how they were, what, was it second, third in the league? First half goals on the road?
Mm-hmm.
Second. But unfortunately, they're, what, 4th in the amount of goals they've given up as well. I say goals win games, but you got to be able to defend as well. That hasn't been the case. You've seen Tariq Mohammed, Kubal on the right side. And then the midfielders really struggling. Ryan Telfer as well. Rick Vandy's going to take a look at that, and not really sure with that performance he's going to get a look with Toronto. He's shown for them, what, 14, 15 times this season. Able to get at a goal too, but not going to get into the top team like that.
By the way, that 69 goals allowed is worst in the USL. They've flown right by Tulsa. Ball for Ferris. Ferris snapping at the net. And Galena was running in a way that if he had let that through, maybe it would have been a simpler finish.
Galena should have called him off on it. Cameroonian in a good spot, but the ball's on its rise. Santi Moore had done a good job getting to the byline, but as he plays it across, it's still coming up.
Great ball through. Ferris. No whistle this time. Boskovic to ground. Trotting across the halfway line. Okello, the right-hand channel. And Chambers commits a foul.
It's a good look at Liam Fraser trying to communicate with international ties. That's a foul for sure. Chambers isn't happy, but he knows. Interestingly enough, the movement on the other side of the field looked more of a penalty in this one than it did the last. Well, that's just upon first glance.
Frazier and Mohammed standing behind the ball. Shot is ringing up and easily over. Bethlehem fans, I think fans of everybody, chance to bid on those gold pregame jerseys, names and numbers on them, all to help find a cure and help support those dealing with pediatric cancer. A link over on B Steel FC on Twitter. As the team shirt is up over $200 at last check.
You know, someone we haven't talked about today, which is a good thing for Brendan Burke, is one of the other center backs, youngster Benjamin Ofimu. He has been beyond impressive. Anytime you're not calling a center back's name is a good thing, although he's out of position right now.
Serbal played it wide, and Aronson as far as Serbal. Hamilton. Chambers.
Benofimu, just 17 years of age, got his debut earlier this year, first NCFC, actually came on, scored a goal, and was the youngest goal scorer in Bethlehem Steel history, just 17 years old.
Galena, diving header. Ferris falls short. Look, I think when you look at a guy like Ferris, you talk about the defensive struggles and hasn't quite grasped everything with the complex triggers involved with the press in Bethlehem. Sometimes you think you can score a few goals and some of that will go away. Haven't been able to do that. Just the one in the opening couple minutes. Serbal off frame.
Serbal trying to do his best Tsubasa Endo impression. This is a look a few moments ago at what went on. Ferris comes in, that's a penalty. Doesn't get the ball whatsoever. And this is the one that was right at the top of the box. When he tracks back, Chambers comes across, sticks his foot out here. It's not as heavy as he thought it was, but still fouls him.
Yeah, I don't know that that's a question.
No.
No.
But the first one, Ferris, good job. Nice footwork. Gets taken down right at the top of the box. Not sure why the referee doesn't point to the spot there. That is a penalty.
The old recency bias, perhaps. Ball slipped through. Aronson is there. Aronson's onside and a kick save. More a standing save from Patterson Sewell. I mean, that was a tidal wave of blue jerseys collapsing on the Toronto back line, and Aronson is the middle of the flying V. Is Bethlehem through here? Galena was running down the middle. It'll be a goal kick. Patterson Sewell pushing at Santi Moar. I think this crowd's a little riled up here.
A little tit for tat at the top. Santi Moar streaking. Ferris did a good job intercepting the play and just played him in. Ball came back across. This is Aronson a second ago. Great turn, love it. Gets in behind Boskovic. Has to release it earlier though. Takes that one hesitancy right when he hits the top of the 18. He's got to release. Patterson Sewell is able to close it down. He tries to get cute, go for the 5-hole, not able to do so. That's the third time we've seen Aronson this game really in an advantageous area to try and put something in the back of the net. All three of which have ended up with a Patterson Sewell save.
Change coming for Bethlehem. This Bethlehem Steel FC player substitution is brought to you by Lehigh Valley Health Network. Aronson comes out. Aronson, the first current Union Academy player to make the USL Team of the Week. 17 years old. Highly celebrated. Over these last couple of months, his star has really begun to rise. Skundrich, who's impressed off the bench all year. And Devin, I think, Aronson, there are those moments where you realize he's a little young. He takes one too many touches. He's a little slow releasing the ball. There are also moments where you see this kid's got something.
He can easily turn into that men amongst boys type role, even though he is only 17 years of age. You can see exactly why he was invited to preseason camp with the Philadelphia Union this year down in Clearwater.
Ball across Ferris, and this will slide just by the post. Moar now taking his turn face down in the ground. Bethlehem feels like they could have 5 or 6 right now.
The Spaniard felt like he should have scored there. A lot of that dangerous attacking play had come from the likes of Brendan Aronson. But the distribution skills on display by Ferris. We've seen him, what he can do in one-on-one situations. This time, plays a supporting role, does well.
Hamilton.
That's a big thing, though, when you take a look at Brendan Aronson and what he brings. You know, Brendan Burke in this organization, very high on him, and rightfully so. That even when, maybe like days like today, he hasn't necessarily been able to close out on his end of things. A couple real good looks at net and not being able to find goal, but he's still been able to create on a regular basis. Sometimes players can falter in and out of form, and they can't do either. So even though he wasn't able to score, was still able to affect the game in a positive manner.
Ferris scored in the 2nd minute. Brilliant setup and a really clean finish, Dev.
Fantastic ball in by Prosper Chilulia. 2nd minute, just goes one-on-one, uses that blazing speed, and the Cameroonian has no problem tucking it away.
This Bethlehem Steel FC player substitution is brought to you by Lehigh Valley Health Network. Ferris says goodnight, and Chris Nanko comes on.
Scoring a goal in the 2nd minute, number 35, Ferris. Entering in his place is number 37, Chris Nanko.
Galena continues to have this excellent spurt of energy, looking for the back post, right into the game, right onto the score sheet. Nanko. Seconds after coming in, Bethlehem 4 goals and 3 points at a vital time in the playoff chase.
Brendan Burke looks like an absolute genius after this one. It's a like-for-like sub, and he says he doesn't nurture these kids, that they're professionals, want to make sure that they go out and they know they have a job to do. But that's easy when you have 2 Ferraris sitting in the garage. We saw Ferris early on in the 1st half, gets his goal in the 2nd minute. Chris Nanko comes on, and inside of 60 seconds, puts his effect on this match.
Nanko's been referred to by Brendan Burke as a bullet off the bench. Not sure he got into Ferrari, but high praise. That goal coming in the 75th minute. About a third of their goal scoring has come in the last 15 minutes of games this year, Bethlehem. As they're up to 54 goals scored. 8 more than they had last year. This their 31st game. The USL going to that expanded 34-game schedule. And so it's fair now at 13, 12, and 6, assuming this goes as anticipated. This will be 45 points, a team record. They had 44 last year in 32 games. So they're playing with house money for their 32-game record.
Bethlehem Steel goal scored by number 37, Chris Nanko. Goal scored in the 74th minute of play.
Slide from Toronto. Serbal. It's a Toronto team that can't finish any higher than 14th. They're 28 points from the playoffs, 53 points behind FC Cincinnati, and yet they've knocked off playoff teams, including the reigning champion Louisville City, on the road. They've picked up draws against New York. Currently hanging around that 8-9 position in the Eastern Conference. Nashville, Cincinnati. Ball across was aimed for Frazier. And Toronto is in an interesting place right now. One of the announced founding members of USLD 3 next year. And when that was announced, described in the press release as an opportunity for the organization, chance for this to play an important role in the long-term strategy of Toronto FC. Greg Vanney, head coach, their MLS side, previously the academy director before taking that role, so you know it means a lot to him. Galina chipping it across. Toronto's up to it. Tim Bezbachenko is big on the youth movement as well. There's a guy like Jonathan Osorio might tell you, a Toronto native. As Akinola will catch up to this. But they say that player development is critical for them and that USL D3 the perfect fit for them. As this will skip and be held in play by McGuire.
It has to be, and you would expect it. Even their former coach of TFC2, Jason Bent, who's now an assistant under Greg Vanney with Toronto FC, you see the success at the MLS level. MLS champions last year, did such a good job. They've been up and down this season, but they need, and I say need, they need to make sure that they can continue to pump out talent with the likes of Seattle, with the likes of Philadelphia Union, you know, Reading and Bethlehem Steel, those organizations, because they can continuously just feed the need for more talent at the highest level, and that's the biggest thing here. If they can do that, you don't have to go shopping, you don't have to go out, you just turn the corner, and it's the next guy up. Just so many talented individuals within organizations around the United States. Toronto hopes they can follow suit.
Third and final substitution for Toronto.
Bjornathan out. Sean Hundal has come in. A constant goal-scoring threat as McGuire looks to pick up his 4th shutout of the year, if he can seal this.
TFC2 will rotate into a 3-back system now, throwing Sean up top.
Which, to be fair, is the Greg Vanney special.
100%.
And that was one thing that really surprised me, as the substitution for Bethlehem, their final of the game, is brought to you by Lehigh Valley Health Network. Omar Holness comes on, picking up some minutes here. His 8th appearance of the season, coming off of an ACL tear last summer. Galina. Fontana. Ball lifted over the back line. And Patterson Sewell comes out to deflect it aside. Drew Skundrich was on the other end. And you think about it, Toronto is a great city. It is a North American landmark city, city of the world kind of thing, where maybe you can go out and bring another Javinko, Bradley, and Altidore. Hamilton will deflect back. And they've shown the willingness to spend that kind of money, no doubt about that too. But, yeah, you'd like to start pumping some players out of your own academy and save a little money.
That's the biggest thing, is being able to and having to are two totally different stories. It's not the worst thing to be able to have the opportunity from a financial standpoint to go after that ace in the hole.
Look at Bayern Munich. They just created this whole new academy structure, building, fields, with the thought, we'd rather spend our money here, build players ourselves, than get caught up in the bidding war that is the international transfer market. It's getting too big for the biggest club in Germany and a constant Champions League champion level pedigree. Yeah,
and they were very frustrated. That's why they revamped their system. And they made their money work for them, though. Not only are they trying to push players to the highest level, but you get guys that come through and they almost have a sort of apprenticeship type role where you've got the 18-year-olds leading the 16-year-olds, the 16 are mentoring the 14, so on and so forth. And when you step on, the director comes to you the day of. It's usually in groups of about 40 players or so. And they say, okay, here's the path. Here's where we want to take you. Here's how you're going to do it. If you don't succeed, we'll find somebody else who will.
And if you do it right, you have a chance to create your own mint and print your own money. You and I got a chance to work with some academies globally with ICC Futures earlier this year and came away really impressed, not only by the way they're doing it, but the way some American teams are beginning to get a grip on it. As Chambers line this up from a pretty lengthy distance.
You could tell that the mutual respect was there, not only from the United States clubs being enamored by the global talent that was in front of them. You had clubs like Seattle Sounders, New York Red Bull, even some of the all-star teams that ICC Futures hosted, and they just showed at a real high level on the U stage what they were capable of. Guys from Celtic and Chelsea were beyond impressed with what was coming out of the academies from the United States.
And in some ways, that's where Bethlehem Steel comes into the whole equation. Because you aren't talking about how good Austin Trusty is if he doesn't get this shot first. It was fun talking with Brendan Burke this week about the mentality they're trying to instill in players here that'll then translate as they move through their careers.
It's really easy to keep an eye on what's in front of you as well, what's going on with the Union, what's going on with the Bethlehem Steel. We went a step further and said, you know, when you have players that aren't necessarily continuing their professional career at this point in time, guys like Jeremy Raffanello, who just took off to Penn State. He's a freshman there. And Issa Rayan, who's at Duke now. You know, how does that process continue for you guys? He said, listen, you know, guys that are on contracts, we just continue to keep an eye on them. And there is always someone who has an eye on each and every player coming out of our system. So it gives you an idea, you know, the job isn't necessarily done, even though they decide for at this point in time to take their talents to college, because sometimes it's a playing issue thing. You get guys like Sam Vines for Charlotte Independence who, you know, he decided that he was going to go pro and they're going to continue him here, but other people like a Jeremy Raffanello maybe not necessarily getting the looks with the Bethlehem Steel. Super, super talented. But when you look at what's in front of him, and you've got Chris Nanko, you've got Galena on the outside, obviously Corey Burke, who's made his transition to the Philadelphia Union, but even Anthony Fontana, Fabian Herbers, all of these guys are sitting in front of you. You want to make sure that you're still getting reps on a regular basis, not just in training, but in full 90-minute matches. That's why they do step out and take the leap to college level.
Galena is fouled. I spoke with Louisville's coach this week, John Hackworth, and he described bringing Jonathan Lewis in from NYCFC. They just don't have a place to get him minutes, a full 90-minute starting role. He hadn't started a competitive match in a year until last week. And well, Bethlehem has these options. And for a moment, I think it would be a bit poor to say all this and not say you need the right ringleader to pull the whole ship together. Because it's one thing to say we've decided to go younger over these last couple of weeks. It's another thing to steady that group and come out and not fall victim to a Toronto team that's caught some people by surprise. Ball for Nanko. Skondrich snuffed out. Crossfield skips off of Sheluya. Booted out by Ben Ofimu. Yeah, I don't know that we've given enough credit to 43 and 53 in this game, but they have been very quietly handling their business.
Done well. McGuire wasn't happy there. Thought Ofimu should have let it come so he could collect it, but it's smart as the center back, just pushing over the end line. Rather safe than sorry.
Malik Hamilton. Wow. Is there another one here for Nanko? Nanko shuttles it across. And Holness will have to wait. Former 5th overall pick. Real Salt Lake, that ACL injury. Scored 2 goals since returning. Skies this.
This is one where you can't really fault the decision that he makes. Trails, holds, brings so many TFC2 players with him. Elects to go with Holness on the back post. It's difficult for Holness because he has to open up his hips, try and put something on frame. But if you counteract it, kind of play the devil's advocate, if Nanko pulls the ball back across his body, now he's got to change his momentum and will allow TFC to close him down. So Either one you pick can't necessarily be in the wrong. It's a difficult chance either way.
Driven for Faria. Circles back around. Boy, if there was 5 seconds of stoppage time in the first half, I think it may be 3 seconds in the second half.
Outside of the no call on the penalty, our referee has managed the game quite well. Been right on top of things and letting the boys play when need be.
Akinola, Hamilton, kept it in. Akinola can't find the other side. 28 USL teams in action today, with 3 weekends to go in the USL season, if you can believe it. This whole thing comes to a conclusion the weekend, Saturday the 13th, when Bethlehem will be at home, taking on the Tampa Bay Rowdies. For Toronto, they are finishing with a lot of road games. This ball snapped on target, and McGuire will pull it in. Team that finishes just one of their last 8 in the Toronto area. Take on Ottawa next, and then they're away to Charleston, take on Louisville, and away to Nashville. They're going to play 4 teams that are above the playoff line right now down the stretch. And they hope it doesn't all finish like this. Right now, Bethlehem above the line, too. It's their last 5 against current Eastern Conference playoff teams.
Minimum of 3 minutes of stoppage time. Official time will be kept on the field.
Away from Hamilton. Good performance from Michi Galina for sure. Skundrich, Holness. Holness cutting it through. Had Skundrich in mind. And Patterson Sewell grabs it. 3 minutes added time. This will make Toronto 5 winless. In that span, they've allowed 17 goals. For Bethlehem, they play 5 players under the age of 20 today in a game that Brendan Burke was calling borderline must-win for their playoff hopes. And their magic number will fall to 10, and that comes before tonight's playoff implicating action.
There it is.
Yeah, there was a word.
You'll get there. You were searching. Well done. I like to track back to what you were saying about this organization before, because with the youth and lack of experience, gaining experience, however you want to look at it, you do need someone who can still push this team in a positive direction and give you an idea, folks, of exactly what Brendan Burke has to deal with. And I'm saying that with all due respect to the organization and very positively, but chatting with them. So, you have any idea about what's going to look like the starting 11? And he said, to be honest, I have no idea. And that will tell you, because he, obviously works with the Philadelphia Union, and they will pull players, they will loan players to Bethlehem Steel. So he doesn't know exactly whose his squad's going to be until about 48 hours ahead of time. That's very difficult for a head coach. You go training all week long. You may have 3-4 guys that are playing very well, and they're not going to feature for you. Totally change your plans around. So his ability to kind of figure out exactly what pieces to put in what place once he's given his team sheet, very difficult to do, but he's been beyond impressive.
In large in part, this has been the team sheet you'd expect. Brought in, and Galena can't finish. Fontana! Patterson Sewell there again, and Galena stopped. That's 3 saves, just short of the death for Toronto. Bethlehem coming off a bye week. We were told that if they did turn it around, it wouldn't be the Toronto game, it'd be the bye week itself. They came out with incredible energy, and Brendan Burke's side pick up a 4-0 win against Toronto, and their playoff hopes continue to blossom, move into 5th, and they're in a very good position with 3 games to go.
Beyond impressive from Brendan Burke and his boys. That gives you a look. So Indy 11 has some work later on to do, but right now they're in virtual 5th. Some games to go on later. They might be able to creep into a top 4 spot. Now, that's saying something, but the Riverhounds, Charleston Battery, and Louisville will probably have something to say about it. They are within striking distance. They came out and got the early goal, but you have to really give them credit for how well they played in the second half. They dismantled TFC2 in every way, shape, and form. The right side, the left side, everybody got involved in the act. It's a solid 3 points from the home squad.
I think no mistake at all that you just saw Aronson embraced by Chambers. The oldest with one of the youngest. And Bethlehem a 4-0 winner over Toronto. We'll wrap this one up when we return as Bethlehem moves to 5th with a dominant performance against the bottom team of the East.
Upgrade to the ultimate entertainment experience. One box, one remote. One place for live TV, recordings, and your favorite streaming apps. Powerful features get you to what you want quickly and easily. And stream live and recorded shows on all your compatible devices or download to watch on the go. Upgrade to TV your way.
Lehigh Valley's largest selection of certified pre-owned vehicles is Rothrock's pre-owned outlet, serving the Lehigh Valley for over 57 years. Our world-class facility offers premium vehicles, including hundreds of factory-certified pre-owned. Next to new cars and trucks, factory-backed and warranted for 100,000 miles. A 125-point certified inspection assures security and peace of mind. And Rothrock pre-owned always means big savings, with vehicles starting at only $2,900. Over 1,000 vehicles in stock and ready to roll. Rothrock, where the cars are.
It can happen over time or in a snap. If joint or muscle pain has taken you out of the game, we can identify the root cause of your problem and develop a sport-specific treatment plan to get you moving again. Over 400 medical experts strong, the region's only nationally ranked program. That's Orthopedics in Action at Lehigh Valley Health Network.
Bethlehem moves into 5th place. They have 4 goals to do it. 54 goals now on the year, and for Toronto, their plunge continues as they continue to sit on 3 wins with 4 games to go. Full-time highlights from Goodman Stadium with Devin Kerr, Mike Watts alongside. This got going early. 2nd minute, Shaluya plays it through. Ferris, no mistake.
2 number 2s and a 1. 2nd minute, 2nd goal for Ferris. And it turns out to be number 1, the fastest goal in Bethlehem Steel FC history. Ferris gets out one-on-one. The back line of Toronto FC2 struggled all night long. Boscovich gets flat-footed. You see Kyle Bjornathan stepping up. He tries to regain his tracks. Boscovich not able to do it. Beats Patterson Sewell. The rest of the first half was quite quiet. There were a couple opportunities for both squads. But again, start of the second, why not? Let's get it going. Good ball in. Aronson, Galena, 2-0.
And Galena backflip. It's then 2-0, a goal 2 minutes into the first half, 3 minutes into the second half, and Toronto, with those 2 goals allowed, plummet to dead last in the league in goals conceded. So they'd finish the night sitting on 70 allowed through 30 games. Mahoney driving in, clear foul, no?
100% a penalty mark. Referee points to the spot appropriately. Misses another one later on Ferris when he cuts in, but the captain, James Chambers, steps up to the spot, just throws that big frame behind it, picks out the far corner, able to put them up by 3. And we thought Ferris's goal was fast. Chris Nanko had something to say about that. Ball comes in, Galena gets down to the byline, great ball to the back post. Nanko puts the 4th away, gets his 5th on the season. The boys in blue were rolling.
Ian in the 74th, ball in the net, 75th, and that Lehigh Valley Health Network substitution that comes off perfectly. As you see the USL Eastern Conference standings now, and 2 might be a little bit out of the reach as Bethlehem just 3 games left. They need some real slip-ups to get that high. But there are some games within their grasp that can allow them either the 5 or maybe as high as the 4 seed if they continue on.
Things that bode well for Bethlehem Steel down the stretch, as well as a lot of the teams in the playoff race are going to be playing each other tonight. Charleston Battery are going to be visiting Nashville, so they're going to take on each other. Louisville and Ottawa will do battle, as well as Pittsburgh and Martin Rennie and Indy 11.
Ferris first, Galena, Chambers, and Nanko in the second half. A 4-0 win for Bethlehem Steel to move them into 5th. For producer Ryan Rose, director Mark Maridaho, Derek Norwookie, and Devin Raymond Kerr, Michael Raymond Watt saying thanks for watching. Bethlehem, a 4-0 winner, a drubbing of Toronto FC 2. All speed ahead. Good night from Bethlehem.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League may not be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the express written consent of the